everybody. I'm Stacey J.
And I'm Chuck Duran.
Welcome to an awesome new episode of VO Buzz Weekly.
That's right. And today we're bringing you from beautiful Sherman Oaks, California, the mighty talents of Carlos Alazraqui. This guy is insanely
great. And such a nice guy.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So you know what? Let's go talk to him right now. Come with us. Our guest has been giving dazzling performances on the big screen, little screen, and on stage for decades. He is known and loved by his fans for his performances in Happy Feet, in Planes, as the lovable little Taco Bell Chihuahua, and as Deputy James Garcia in Reno 911, just to name a few things. We are so excited to get buzzed with the funny and fabulous Annie nominee, Carlos Alazraqui.
Ah, thank you. Man,
Carlos Alazraqui.
that is such a formidable intro
true?
that I don't feel that I can follow what's preceding me.
Oh, I think you
I don't
can,
know
my
about
friend.
that, but
Wow.
Thanks for being
Everybody,
here.
everybody,
So
thank you
great
for
to
coming,
finally
man. We
have
really
you.
appreciate you having you here. But everybody tells Stacey, can I carry you around with me, like
Yeah,
everywhere I go,
exactly.
to just introduce me? 'Cause
Before I enter a room, ladies and gentlemen.
people will just love me.
I spent a lot of time reading about everyone, and so then when I kind of sit here, you heard me, I was like, what do I want to say? So I kind of just, everything kind of funnels in, and then whatever comes out, comes out, so.
Yes, he's
Yeah.
traveled
It's
to
a-
the center of the earth and discovered
Yeah.
life secrets.
He is an
Yeah.
astronaut on the weekend.
Absolutely. Well,
Yes.
I mean, listen, definitely,
But such a
you know,
pleasure.
huge fan of Reno 911 here.
Yeah, it's a fun
Used to
show.
watch it all the frickin' time religiously. So is our camera guy over there. He loved the show.
Yes.
And then just finished watching you do comedy on YouTube for like a couple of days straight, laughing my blank off.
No, and then finally discovering that we had a shared history with our names and what we went through.
Yes.
Exactly, because everybody knows me as Chuck, Carlos, but you know, a lot of people don't know that, yes, I am Cuban, and I was born as Carlos. So I was like, oh, wow, you know, but he does a little skit with the Carlos and
Right.
Charlie and Charles thing
Right.
that I
because
just...
no one ever thinks you're Cuban.
No.
And then you grew up with Northern California, you
Northern
said, right?
California guy, Argentinian parents, white looking Carlos.
Yeah,
So,
hey,
man.
Carlos.
You don't have to be Carlos until you need financial aid. And then
Right,
you go,
exactly.
Me llamo
Exactly.
Carlos, necesito dinero, por favor.
Exactly, and I even thought of that when I was younger. I'm like, maybe I should go back to Carlos so I can get loans.
Heck yeah.
You know?
Charlie, to talk
But
like
that's
this
so
more often,
funny.
okay?
I know.
Okay.
So listen, man, you obviously, you know, on-camera actor, great actor, stand-up comedy, all this stuff. How did you find your way into voiceover?
I fell into it by accident. I was doing stand-up in San Francisco, and I had a manager, Tracy Forster, who knew a man named Mark McNamara, who was partnering with a guy named Joe Murray, who was doing panel cartoons for San Jose Mercury. He developed this little concept called Rocko's Modern Life. And I didn't have an agent, so Tracy said, this guy Mark is going to get you in, just make a tape. I'm in Sacramento at the time, and I made a tape in a kitchen on a recorder, just like kids out of school, like getting sick, like, hey man, I don't feel too good, I think I ate something wrong. Well, stay away from me, you punk. Hey, threw up here, and like, you know, hey boy, you better clean that up. And just all the stupid things I could think of. That got me in the door. The audition was at George Maestri's house in San Francisco. I went in and they said, we're doing this project, Rocko's Modern Life. We don't, even though he's a wallaby, we're trying to steer away from Australian. So maybe New York, maybe, I said, what about like a Bruno Kirby or something? Hey, this is Rocko. How you doing? This is good to see you. I'm a wallaby and maybe try something else. And then one of the other characters was Spunky, the dog that was crazy with big eyes. And right then, I got a guy named Nick Jennings, who's working for DreamWorks now, said, yeah, you're going to be Spunky. You've got Spunky, so let's keep you there. You're Spunky for sure. So I go, good, I'm in. And then I did Gene Wilder, for some reason, just to keep them entertained.
Yeah.
You are not evil, you are good.
Oh,
And they like, oh my God, that's funny, keep talking. And then they said, why don't we just try an Australian thing just for shoots and giggles? And there's like a vacuum manual, you know, like, plug hose A into slot B. And back then it was way more flattened out on Australian.
Right.
When you're having trouble with the bag, make sure you replace it and also the filter at the same time. And they're like, you know, there's something about that voice. Let's just send that anyways to
Yeah,
New York
yeah.
or whatever. And they happened to like that. And I got hired to do a pilot on Lombard and, God, what was the cross street? It was right behind the Mel's, Lombard and Steiner in San Francisco. Poolside Studios. We did a pilot for 3 days. And I did, you know, oh, buddy, small dogs and trash are not part of a balance diet. And we did the pilot, and then I remember being in Seattle at Last Laugh Comedy Club, and then getting the news that Rocko was going to go to series. And
Yeah.
I was like,
Wow.
And that is the
That's the
long
call
sort of
you like
winded
to get.
story
Yeah.
of how it all began.
Yeah.
So, and was that your first
That was-
audition?
First audition, yeah. I
Holy
think so. No agent.
Toledo, man.
Yeah, talk about.
First audition, no.
That's like Jim Cummings. You
Did
guys,
your
you know,
tape
you don't
get
know
you
that
the
it's
audition,
hard, right?
or did you even need a tape then?
I think the tape helped me.
Helped? Okay.
Yeah, for sure, because I had some variety, and I was a comedian, and it's actually around the same time that Tom Kenny was. That was one of his first shows too, Rocko.
Yeah.
I believe I was instrumental, and they couldn't find the voice of Heifer, and I said, "There's a guy, Tom Kenny, that's really great with characters," and he came in, "Ooh, Rocko!" And of course, he's legendary now and owes me 10% of everything. But we were both born out of the stand-up comedy thing. That's
great,
what prepared
man.
us. Like you know Jess Harnell very well, and Billy West have that musical background. I believed, as Billy West said, if you're a comedian, you're already participating in that theater of the mind. You write, produce, and direct something in your head. And so that's why you don't need another person there to build Rocko, you know?
Yeah.
If Rocko is very scared and in a place by himself, you already see it.
So that being from stand-up just helped me kind of launch right into it without an agent, without any formal training.
Wow, so cool, man. Neat story. You know what's funny is that we literally ask everybody how they got started in voiceover, and everybody has a little bit of a different story, and it's so neat, you know?
Certain
some
common
are
little
fortunate,
kernels, but...
some of are a little less fortunate because maybe they've been doing it for like freaking 80 years, and finally they get a break. But nevertheless...
Yeah, it's a good story, but it goes in cycles. You know, you're swimming around it, you get started by a fluke, and you think it's all linear and it's going to go like this, and then it has peaks and valleys and ends, and you audition, and you're like, why don't I? And then something comes around the bend again, you know. We'll get to it later. I'll let you ask those questions, but really the origins are pretty similar for everybody. We're all of foreign descent. Let's say my parents from Argentina, my best friend's parents from Glasgow, Scotland. So right straight away, if I wasn't listening to my mom called Carlitos, stop playing upstairs, Carlos. You and your brother have to stop. I was over at Kevin's house with Uncle Danny talking like this. And Auntie Liz going, look at you and Kevin, you're growing like little weeds. You know, so fascinated by what's around me.
I had two of my flamenco teachers at Juilliard were Argentinian, so I was Estesi for 4 years. So I love the ES. I love the Estesi from the Argentinian dialect.
Yeah. And to my whole family, is Stacy.
Yes, Estesi. What was it like growing up? What kind of kid were you?
Pretty typical suburban kid, you know, Concord, California. My name was Carlos, you know, I blended in.
By the way, I like it when you say Carlos.
Carlos, what's up, Los man?
It's kind of Keanu Reeves.
Loster.
Yeah.
And I just, typical American kid. I was on a swim team. I had a paper route. I played sports. Everything was sports, total jock. Anything with a ball, a tennis ball, football. We used to throw a football on the way to school. And the rule was if you dropped the football on a pass, you had to go back to the origin of the pass. So we were always 5 or 6 minutes late. Because we'd always have to go back. So we were riding bikes. I was doing paper routes, playing hide and seek on the swim team. You know, just a typical small suburban neighborhood. Nothing fantastic, except for the people that I met. My mom had a Russian friend, Linda Blasinko, Carlos. What are you doing today? Richard is at home. And she had Peruvian friends, she had Argentinian friends, Mexican friends. So along with Kevin's parents, outside of this typical suburban white neighborhood I lived in, were the people that I was sort of immediately introduced to through family. So it was great. It was pretty safe, fun. I was a jock. I like sports. I didn't know I was going to do voiceover stuff. I watched TV like everybody else, and I watched cartoons.
Exactly.
Hey, Bubba Louie! Oh, quick throw. Here comes the gunfighter. As a matter of fact, there's a character I do on Randy Cunningham called Accordion Dave, and he's part Efren Herrera. He's part, what's the character from Napoleon Dynamite? Pedro. He's part Pedro, and he's part...
Pedro.
Yeah, he's part Pedro, and he's part of the... Pink Panther used to have Dudu and Inspector Clouseau and Dudu. It was the side cartoon.
Hey, if the inspector wants to take the sideway, I'm so confused. Don't say si, say we. So it's kind of, Accordion Dave is kind of mixture of both. He's like, I don't know, I'm very tired. Going to sleep noises. Sleep, sleep.
So it's kind of a mixture of both.
Yeah.
You know, I
Yeah,
can
yeah.
trace the history back to my early days and then something that I saw later on.
Yeah. Now, picking up dialects, was that something that you were always great at? Or
I
did
guess
you...
so. You know, because and naturally, I was fascinated by it, and I thought that the plain Californian dialect was so boring.
Right.
Yeah.
And of course, I had my mom with a stop sign and in Spanish, la puta que te parió, carajo.
Oh, hey, bleep.
Bleep.
Oh,
Can't say
I
that.
caught a few of those in
Well,
there.
now,
Yeah.
listen, the people, English-speaking people have
Yes.
no idea what you
Yeah,
just said.
it's very bad.
Yeah.
But she would just go off. And my dad was British educated, from Argentina, but speaks perfect English.
Yeah.
Went back to visit his school in 2010, and headmaster says, "Oh, Eduardo, yeah, how's the old boy? Good, yeah, good student, Eduardo. Never had to give him 6 of the best." So, and then I grew up watching Python and the two Ronnies, so I was just fascinated with those dialects straight away, you know.
Yeah.
I wanted to talk like that.
So you were just like a sponge.
Yeah,
Everything
soaking
was
it all
there.
up.
Yeah, soaking
The
it all up.
immersion.
Awesome.
The Rosetta Stone immersion
Exactly.
program.
Dialects,
Yeah. So I want to talk about some of your current projects, which we've layered in here and there, but also where can people see you? Because you're on the road a lot. You're making appearances.
I'm now going to make my first appearance for the Stephanie Miller Sexy Liberal Comedy Tour with John Fugelsang and Stephanie Miller and myself. I will be March, here's where they can find me. February. This show is already happening past February, right?
Yes, this
So
is March 2nd.
let's forget about my February date, which already happened in Phoenix. It was awesome. So
You were brilliant.
before March 29th, I will be in Madison, Wisconsin with the Sexy Liberal Comedy Tour. But before that, March 14th through 16th, I will be in Lexington, Kentucky
Nice.
for a con. I'm not sure what the name of the con. I
Nice.
think it's called Lexington Con.
Yeah.
And I will be there signing autographs and saying hello to the people out
Beautiful.
there. So
Awesome.
And we were talking about 2014.
2014. Yeah.
So if you're watching this in 2016,
Don't go.
It's over.
Don't go. It's over.
If you're still there, in 2
Yeah, or
years,
waiting
not
for
good.
me, I may
Yeah.
or may not be there.
Yeah.
That's
good.
funny, man.
What do you like about doing cons and meeting people face to face?
What I like about it is that you're a big deal. It's always fun to be a big
Yeah.
deal because
Yeah.
sometimes you're lost in LA with all the stars and you feel like, hey, just notice me.
Yeah.
You're
Somebody.
noticed.
Yeah.
And you know that you make a difference to some people, that they really dig what you do. And remember small, minute details about characters you've forgotten about.
Oh, yeah.
I love the first Spyro the Dragon. You were,
Oh, yeah, I was Spyro. Wow.
you remember when in level 17?
I don't remember what was 17. But thank you for remembering.
Yeah.
I'm so glad.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's great that you make a difference to somebody.
That's so
Definitely.
cool.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So I'm going to go out on a limb and say that you still audition for work.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. What's your process? Like when you get an audition for a character or even a commercial or whatever it might be, how do you take the copy and what do you think? Do you read the direction first? Do you not go there first? What's your
I try to.
process?
I try not to gloss over it. I think there's been a couple of years where I think that I could just ride on the talent that I had and the work that preceded me.
Yeah.
And now I really try to read the instructions or the character breakdowns. And sometimes they'll get confusing, and then sometimes you'll make a choice opposite of that.
Right.
Because sometimes you'll follow the directions to a T. Like this man, he's shy, he's nerdy, he doesn't have a lisp, and he is probably going to be about 20 years old. And then you see the final thing. It's like, hey guys, what's going on? And you're like, why did I
he's
even
got
pay
all the
attention?
things that they say.
Everything he wasn't,
Exactly.
yeah.
So, but it always helps visually. Rocko, I got to see
see a picture. He had a long snout and big eyes.
So that was, for me, when you get a visual picture of a character, it's much easier than
Yeah.
a written description. Other than that, I just try to read what it's about and then throw what I think is going to work based upon people I've seen before in my life or a character I heard in a film or something like that. I had Mr. Crocker, Butch Hartman had me audition for Mr. Crocker, and I thought, maybe I do a bad Richard Dreyfuss and Little Montgomery Burns, excellent, and some Gene Wilder, and it turned into Timmy Turner, fairies, fairies! So it was a mixture of all three,
Yeah.
you know? And then sometimes it takes a while to get a hold of it, you know? I
Yeah.
was working on a new series this morning, Puss in Boots, and there was the mayor character, and there was what I auditioned with, and I go, you got the gig. And then when I got there this morning, they said, we don't want to do with what you did, we're going to experiment with something else.
But I still have the gig, right?
But hopefully, and I'm doing more of a Shakespeare
Yeah.
mayor. Before I was doing like, I'm afraid, what are you doing? And they said, no, make it more theatrical. And so sometimes it takes a while. It took me like a year to feel comfortable with Rocko.
Yeah.
So the process of trying to find it can sometimes be immediate, or it can take like, man, I still don't feel this.
Yeah.
Ongoing, and for about 4 years or so, maybe more, 5, 6 years, whenever the first Monsters Inc., I've been doing Mike Wazowski sound-alike stuff. I have a gig this Friday doing it. And if I haven't done it, I got to go back and watch the clips and, oh my God, Sully, what's going on here? Ah, it's terrible. And the thing I do to pull me back in voice is the 2 words are, "You married," which is from the movie Forget About Paris.
Crystal is not you don't hear a lot of people impersonating.
Yeah, or just doing his
impressions.
regular voice.
Yeah.
I'm at a Clipper game. Don't bother me. They're losing again. Why did I buy front row
That's
seats?
good.
I'm trying to remember of recent auditions. The harder auditions for me are video games because it always says big booming voice.
Yeah.
And I try as much as I can, but then I'm not John DiMaggio or even Jess can drop. Where down? I think Jess does a snowman character on.
He does.
So,
on
Doc McStuffins.
Doc
Doc McStuffins.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
Chili.
already get that lower register.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I can't get there.
Yeah.
My friend Eric Bauza has that nice bass where I just cannot get to that one. So I try to go with my strengths. So when video games come along, I'm hoping for that little Weasley guy, because that's easy.
Yeah.
And it was Brian Monroe at Disney Characters who told me, because I had no idea I could do Billy Crystal or Mike Wazowski, and he goes, "No, you're a tenor." Like, I don't know, I guess I'm a tenor. He goes, "Your own timbre of your voice is already right there." I'm already nasally.
Yeah.
And so all it was watching the movie Forget About Paris. How does his face move? Yeah, I watched his face, and for about the first 10 sessions of all the Mike Wazowski stuff, I was imagining Billy Crystal, but pinching his voice, being this other character. And then by the 40th session, I'm Billy Crystal's gone. It's
now it's like
I see Mike Wazowski's lip flap.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? We're not going to stay here, Sully. We're getting out right now. So that
great.
it took a while to layer it, but it can vary, and sometimes depending on how comfortable you are with a character. Rocko, for example, as I was saying, took about a year to feel comfortable. He said, we want less Australian, a little bit more Cockney, make it easier to understand. He's too innocent, make him a little bit wiser,
Now, do you spend a bunch of time on your auditions, like analyzing everything, or just like, you know what, man, I'm gonna give them what they want, but I'm going with my.
I go with my gut, and there's a casting director where I, with my agency, who sort of agrees with me. Your first instinct usually is the best.
Yeah.
You can really, really go at it really, really hard, but sometimes you can take a listen and go, you know what? I don't like that. Let me try it one more time.
Yep.
Because sometimes I'll go into my booth and I have my little iPad and an Apogee mic. And it's just me, when I'm self-directing, I might play it back and go,
Something's missing,
that was too fast, that was too nasally.
Yeah.
I got one more idea. I'll wake up the next morning and change it. But usually when I go into the booth, where at my agency, I'll go with my gut and the first take, and then that's it.
Beautiful.
So
Okay, good.
What do you think have been kind of the keys to your long career?
I don't know. I think, like anything else, it's stick-to-itiveness. You just stick with it. Because of the peaks and valleys, because, as I said, you think that your success is going to be linear and that you'll just keep tracking. I think it's just going through the harder times, keeping on auditioning, and watching new influences. Billy West always used to say, and Tom Kenny, watch the Turner Classic Movies. Watch things that you've never seen before. Listen when I'm on the Metro for different characters. I remember there was this guy, Cedric and I from Reno, we went to see Fantasy. It was an adult show because he had met a woman. And it was at the Luxor. And there was this black guy, and he was just like Cab Calloway looking. He was like, and he was so bored he had his ticket. He's like, let me see your tickets. Congratulations, gentlemen. Welcome to Fantasy, the all-female nude review show here at the Luxor. May all your fantasies be realized tonight. You're in row 22, seats 10 and 12 on the night stand. It's like, okay, this guy's beautiful. I don't know if I'll ever get to use him, but okay, tracking, So it's keeping going is tracking new voices, tracking new techniques. I'm learning stuff from older guys or younger guys, watching. He watched Jess work. He's always up, man.
Yeah.
And really getting into his character. Like Tom Kenny will go, hey, Patrick. He'll get into it. When I first learned from Charlie Adler, I was new to the voice, doing Rocko, and Charlie was like flipping pages like, big head. Oh, Rocko, dear. Don't you yell at me, big. Oh, shut up, Ed. Don't tell me to shut up. And I'm like, oh my God, this guy is amazing. But I learned by watching other people in sessions too. Like, what are they doing? What am I not doing? What am I not? Man, I'm missing the acting on this character. I got the voice, but I'm just flying through it. And look at how this person is really taking their time. Jeff Bennett is really one that is so great at both. You're talking about James Arnold Taylor. Great at like an unusual voice, but the acting is Dee Bradley Baker. All of them.
All of them.
You can just on down the line.
Right down,
and so I think is like any other job, if you're willing to learn and willing to say, I don't know everything, that's what keeps you going.
Absolutely. So, do you do any Spanish voiceover stuff? Do you work
I
in Spanish?
do. I did, well, one of the most notable was obviously, Yo quiero Taco Bell.
Yeah, well, yeah, we know that.
Accordion Dave sort of has that little bit. Of course, I did El Chupacabra
Yeah.
for plain
Yes.
Dusty. I squish my tail at you. I did
You are
Furley.
a love machine.
I'm a love machine. I'm just a love machine, and I will work for nobody but you. Planes 2 is coming out on July 14th. Originally, El Chupacabra was going to do a cameo because they liked him so much in the first film. They said, we are putting him in the second film. He's great. He was going to appear and make this cameo, but then they went and tested it, and because of the theme of the movie is very serious about a fire breaking out and all these rescue guys, and we're gonna help. They thought that this detraction, like, what are you doing here? Hey, Dusty, hey, how's it going? Life is fun. They just felt like it kind of doesn't work. So hopefully they'll develop more things for this type of character. And
absolutely.
I've got my bed made with Disney Tunes, but after Planes happened, and I got to go on a lot of publicity things, and it's been a great character. I was called in last minute for Relativity Media for Freebirds. They had a character, a real person that was playing the character Furley. That person got into, let's say, some trouble. You can probably read up on it. And then they needed me to ADR and do my own slant on it. They already had it done. They had 5 days to do it. Come in, and my friend Jorge Gutierrez, who's directing Book of Life, coming out for Fox, along with Guillermo del Toro. I went in there and I did Furley. What's going on, dude? You are such a big, beautiful bird, Ranger. I love you. So I did my little thing, and I was in that movie, and it was like, oh, wow, I did a great job, and they really like what I did. And now the aforementioned Jorge Gutierrez, working on Book of Life. He is really big fans of Eric Bauza, myself, and Grey Delisle. We've done El Tigre with him. I started with Pepe the Bull with Jorge. This is a guy that makes brilliant stuff, who made El Tigre, which was rated #1 on Nickelodeon. They said, well, we have to take it off the air. It's rated #1. And he bounces back, and he keeps bouncing back. And when you see the artwork, you could probably see images. Go look up Book of Life. His artwork and his mind is just, he's a Cal Arts guy. He's from Mexico City. And his wife Sandra and he are just so beautifully, ornately creative. And so now for this movie, I think I play a little guy who talks like this, a soldier. And then General Jorge, General Posada, people of San Angel. It's sort of that voice
Look
again.
at you with your deep voice.
Yeah, people of San Angel. It's getting deeper.
It's getting deeper by the second over here. Well, that's all we have for part 1, but be sure and tune in next week for part 2.
Absolutely. In the meantime, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Pinterest at VO Buzz Weekly. Take care, everybody, and just remember, you always have time for a little buzz.